watching all the world go by now, underneath the hazy sky now. Got my ticket for the long ride. Yeah, from my park bench perspective, got that wide-eyed view on life. My park bench perspective, helping me to win the fight.
Hey, how you doing, Mike Hammer?
Carlos Figueroa, I'm doing well. How are you doing, my buddy?
I'm doing good. Enjoying being back on the bench with you.
Yeah, the bench of perspectives. A lot of them out there.
There's a lot of benches and perspectives. So what's that? That's the old... I hit the explicit tag so I can do... I know a lot of people have said it, but I remember Denny Green was quoted as saying is that opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one.
Yeah, and it's perspectives like that saying in Full Metal Jacket. This is my gun. This is our perspective. There's many like it, but this is ours.
Yeah.
Maybe there's not many like it.
Wasn't that movie about Marines?
I think it was Marines.
I think it was.
God, this is an unplanned lead-in, isn't it?
It is. I'm trying to lead you to water, my friend.
Wow, I like to drink, and water's okay too.
Yeah. But we've got a friend. We got a special guest on the bench today.
A friend on the bench, yes, we do. We got the one and only Chuck Chastain has decided that he would grace us with his presence on the bench and chit-chat with us for a while. Chuck, how you doing?
Great. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Chuck is a member of class of 84, St. Louis Park High School, like I am. But Chuck was not a lifelong St. Louis Park kid like Hammer and I. Chuck,
are we natives? Are we what they call native?
We look down on people that.
Wait a second. You were born. Your first house was St. Louis with a baby.
I was born in Methodist Hospital, my friend. I'm pure.
You are pure. I was born in Mount Sinai. That old Mount Sinai that disappeared over.
Yeah. But Chuck, you moved to St. Louis Park, 78, 79, like 8th grade, beginning of 8th grade for us.
The summer between 7th and 8th grade, yeah. I moved from San Jose, California. I came from a junior high school that was called Castro Junior High.
Okay.
So a little bit of change from there to here. I'll tell you that.
Had you experienced a Minnesota winter before you moved?
Absolutely no.
Any snow winter?
Yeah, winter for us was 3 days of rain, and it got down to 52 or something.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. One of the things that Mike and I have tried to do on this podcast is talk about how our view has changed and grown. I don't want your current view, Chuck, but what did you think when you showed up here? Were you unhappy? What did you think of this place?
I guess, to be honest with you, I thought it was a beautiful place. It was very green, very nice. Yeah. I did feel like I stepped back in time a little bit, to be honest with you.
That was one of our greenest summers ever.
Yeah, I remember hearing comments like, you can't be from California. You don't have blonde hair.
Same thing to a Minnesotan, right?
And I looked at this person and said, half of California is Mexican.
Yeah.
So there goes your blonde hair theory.
Do the math.
And you grew up in what would we call it, the Aquila neighborhood near Aquila Elementary School? Is that where you grew up, where you guys moved to?
Yeah, right on Boone Avenue off of Minnetonka, right behind Aquila there. Yep. Yeah, it was. It was a great place to grow up. I'm telling you.
Do you remember the moment your dad or mom or whatever sat you guys down, you and your brother Eric and Rick, and said, you know what? The old saying was move west, but we are bucking the trend. We're going east. You're like, New York, Miami. No, Minnesota. Were you like, where? Were you honestly like, where the hell is Minnesota?
This is partly due to your southern roots, but I've got this vision of the Clampets backing up the truck from San Jose.
Going to Minnesota.
It was. Yeah, I go to thinking about it. I was like, we're moving into the middle of the country. That'll be it isn't like you're moving. I moved several times when I was young. Yeah. I lived in the Bay Area when I went to kindergarten, first grade. Then we moved to... Growing up, I lived in Sacramento, lived in a place called Richmond, California, which was very interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
I went to kindergarten there, and I was the minority.
You were the weird kid who spoke English.
Yeah, in first grade, and then we moved to San Jose. My dad was opening restaurants, so we kind of
okay.
it was a place back then. It was called Der Wiener Schnitzel. Now it's called Wiener Schnitzel. I'm sure you guys have seen it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was part of opening the first, I think, 8 or 9 in the Bay Area, something like that.
Cool.
And then he owned his own, and that was in El Cerrito, California.
El Cerrito.
Yeah.
But do you remember? We all know your dad very well, and he's like another father to us, as well as Carlos was to me. And but do you remember him sitting down, or was it just what's going on? And they're like, yeah, we're obviously your kids. There's no decision. There's no like,
Yeah.
we'd like some input. We're not nowadays. We'd like some input. It was just like, pack your stuff. We got to go. Or was it like, this is what we're planning, or we got to? It wasn't like your dad got transferred here.
My mom's sister lived here, and her mom. And part of it was she wanted to get back and live with them. And my dad, you guys know his sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I kept he kept answering the phone, and girls were calling the house and saying all kind of weird things. And he was like, all right, we're getting you out of here. And so he was joking and blaming it on that, which obviously it wasn't, but it was funny. And I guess I was looking forward to it. It's exciting. It's always exciting when you go someplace new. Yeah, what to think of it.
Yeah.
You
know, fish in the water, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine.
You know, you weren't in love. We talk about, but I bring it. St. Louis Park was just a really cool place to grow up.
Yeah.
And did you have that feeling where you were as much as you had it? Maybe St. Louis Park was just what it was, but.
No, I wouldn't say I did. I liked California because we also owned a fruit stand, which I worked at every day. And it was a different way of growing up. I worked one thing I was lucky, my dad and mom both, they always believed in showing us a good work ethic and get out there and do it. I remember I had a paper route because I remember in 76 delivering the bicentennial edition, which weighed about 16 pounds. And for the San Jose Mercury News, it was.
I think we have that in common. I think that Mike and I started a paper route together working when we were about 11. So that's the age to do that. But your dad also taught you something that my dad did. Your father, very entrepreneurial. Don't work for somebody, build something so you work for yourself ethic. And as part of that, your family built what I would call an institution in St. Louis Park, but during the time we were growing up, and that's the Fun Shop in Knollwood Mall.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I ended up being in that business a long time after,
It's funny, you kind of introduced, we grew up, and I don't know, Carlos, how old we were when Ridgedale opened up, but we were like fifth, sixth grade, something like that. And I think sixth grade or right around there, we tell the story about when we used to take the bus on Highway 12 all the way there. But that kind of, then you coming in the Fun Shop kind of opened up a lot of us to more doing the mall thing because that's just what you did. It's winter. We don't. Back then, we didn't run from winter, but we went to places that were warmer sometimes, like the malls.
I mean, the mall, it's hard to describe to anybody that's Gen Z, but mall culture was a thing. That's what you did. You went to where the kids were. Just like you'd go to, in the summer, you go to the ballpark, or you go to the park, or you go where people are, and the mall was the place to hang out. There were things like record stores. There were where a lot of the money I earned in high school jobs went down the passageway there from the Fun Shop into the gold mine. You hung out at the arcade. You check out the latest magic trick that they got in at the Fun Shop. You go down to the movie. You'd hang out at the food court. It was mall life was a real thing.
Your parents could drop you off there. Yeah, you'd go to Orange Julius, the Fun Shop, the arcade, and you 4 or 5 hours later, you're like, okay.
It was a little easier getting to that music land than going to Fifth and Hennepin when you're a kid.
Yes, that's true. That is very true. Although
we did it.
Do you remember the cool place to go? And this is before the Fun Shop brought cool stuff to us. But whenever there was a field trip or something downtown, the cool place you wanted to go to Suns,
whatever. Yeah,
Suns downtown, because you could they had paraphernalia And they had, the switchblade comb. I think that's where I got my Harley wallet with a chain on it. They had all the cool
tie-dye T-shirts and all the
tie-dye
weird stuff.
T-shirts. They sold kind of before there was gas station get you high stuff at the counter. They sold little bottles of, I don't know, industrial adhesive called Rush that you could inhale and feel lightheaded.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I don't know. That's a digression. We talk about downtown, but no, we had Knollwood once it became.
What was the one? I know the Suns was in Minneapolis. Downtown St. Paul was it? Not Guadalajara's. What was the one in downtown St. Paul called?
I did not know one existed.
Their head shop. It's down by
Electric. There was Electric Fetus.
Electric Fetus. And of course, we had the one not far from our home, down in the valley.
Down the valley. They didn't have a lot of new stuff, but they had a lot of slightly used will do.
Slightly used will do.
And that, when did that come in? Did that come? Was that?
I think Down in the Valley's been there. It predated us. I'll do some research and throw it in the show notes. But I think Down in the Valley was there a long time, even before.
It's still funny to me that music land started in Minneapolis. That's just crazy. And then it went everywhere.
Yeah.
Dairy Queen started it.
3M.
I like ice cream.
But
you do?
I guess back to what I thought when I first moved here.
Yeah.
This whole thing. I guess when I first got here, it was funny because I thought, man, these girls kind of all look the same, which is kind of weird to say.
Yeah.
But
I actually heard that from when I was in college. I was part of a program at the Humphrey Institute for people that are going to go to grad school. But anyways, it was full of a lot of African Americans from around the country. And they said, you all look alike up here.
And it's weird. I guess because
every other girl has that dirty blonde hair and
pasty white.
Yeah, I came from Castro Junior High, which, as you can imagine, it was about as mixed as could be. And then
you know what, Chuck? I think your tastes were imprinted as a little kid because you came home. You ended up with a Rocky from California. It was not a Minnesota girl that got your heart.
You know what's funny though, and you came here and it was a culture shock. And just imagine, St. Louis Park was one of the, if not the most diverse first ring suburb school with the most amount of different ethnicities and how little that was.
I will agree that St. Louis Park's an inner ring suburb and we had religious diversity, but we were not a diverse school. I mean,
but we had the first. Did I say this played sports? We had people from other countries and other whatever. And
we did okay,
but it wasn't huge like where he came from.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was
yeah, a couple hands because we forget some of the people that we knew that we just didn't see as maybe being.
What's
other
funny
than
is Hammer's like going, I never thought Billy Boswell was Native American. I never thought Carlos was Cuban. I just like kids in the neighborhood. We played with you.
Yeah, but I guess because everybody talked similar. There wasn't a lot of. Not everybody, obviously, but it was just, again, I was a kid. What the hell did I know?
That's actually, I try to think of this to be optimistic when I look at the world, but I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen Cuban kids that don't speak English and American kids and Muslim kids. I've seen kids get together and they play.
Oh,
they don't see it. They don't see the crap that as adults we allow to create problems between us. And they just don't see it. It's not natural. So they don't care. That's like going, do you got a cool truck? Show it to me. Let's play with it. That's all they care about.
Nobody in my house, when I was 4, nobody in my house said, he's Cuban, because I would have said, I have no idea.
Whoa.
You got MTV, I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. You got Central Air, we can talk.
Yeah, that was the best. Central Air. Just sticking the arm in. I still remember that every time it's hot. Remember, at your side door, we'd stick our arm in just to feel the Central Air, and then you'd say, I can't right now.
Hey, I've got a topic. It doesn't really fit, but I want to talk about it because one of my favorite things about the time we grew up, and maybe a little earlier, I kind of identify more 70s than 80s, but some of the cars. And they had kids with cool cars in high school, but Chuck, you had the most beautiful car. Your convertible Camaro was the most beautiful car. Tell us about it, and this will be mainly for me because I just love that car.
It was a 68 Camaro convertible. Even got stopped by the cops in St. Louis Park just to see who it was that was driving it.
That's it. Yeah.
And they were cool about it.
Yeah.
They just said,
Didn't that get like the first car or production car with power windows?
it had
Something
power
like that.
windows. It had air conditioning, which was very bizarre for a 68, and a convertible. And
anyways, beautiful car, man. I drove
power.
my Grand Prix, which was affectionately known as the Ashtray.
Yes. The great white ashtray. Yeah.
We were just talking about that the other day, but go ahead.
I drove a lot, I think, because I tended not to get out of hand and I was capable of driving. But I remember, what's the thing that people would say as people would approach my car and we're leaving? It's like, I'm not behind Carlos because my car seat was broken. And so I was basically in your lap. But anyways.
Remember that cars had 2 doors. A lot of cars. I mean, kids now not knowing, sitting in the back seat was like, fuck, I got to climb. Excuse me. I got to climb through. I got to get in the back. And then you're like, I got to get out.
Hammer, I remember you must have got your love of cars from watching Huggy Bear on Starsky and Hutch or something, because you always drove the big Cadillac pimp mobiles. Big cars. Honestly, my first bachelor apartment was smaller than some of the cars you owned.
It just kind of happened weirdly where my dad, there's a story there, but he just like, you want this car? I'll pay for half of it. And I don't know what it was at the time. And that was that big sky blue sedan DeVille with a white top. And always come that comment from Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy. And what are you driving that for? Because some white blah, blah, blah just bought the last sky blue Cadillac with a white top. And I'm like, that's me. But that car was big. We'd get in it. Yeah, it wasn't hard fitting 7, 8 people in that. And that was a 4-door. And that thing I remember it got 10 miles to the gallon, and gallon of gas was $1, so $10 got you 100 miles.
I remember this about the ashtray. I'd be coming in the school, and I knew what street Carlos would be at, because he'd always get there early, finishing up his homework, because he actually did, and smoking his cigarettes, doing his homework, and I'd sneak up behind him and give him a honk, scare the shit out of him.
I'll tell you what, I got a feeling that when I opened my car door, it looked like a Spicoli's van in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. A fair amount of smoke was pouring out of it.
Without a doubt. But you were about, I guess back then, you were probably the only one, or one of the only ones that we hung out with that smoked.
I was. Cigarettes too, actually.
What a bump.
No, yes, I guess I was making that distinction because I honestly said, no, it's like everybody smoked. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, cigarettes. No, actually, that was not a very male activity when we were in high school. It was more, I would say that the majority of the smokers were female.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, I never thought of that. Yeah. And I didn't start smoking until I was 21. And that was the Marine Corps' fault. Or maybe, maybe 21. Because we all chewed Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And the ship I was on in the middle of the ocean, forgot to bring it.
Oh.
And because usually they sold it in what we call it the Gedunk, which is the ship's little convenience store. And they would sell a roll of, what do those come in, Mike, with a roll of 10 or 5? Do you remember?
Now they'll 5, but usually they came in a roll of 10 back then.
Yeah,
but now you get 5 or 10.
I would get a roll of 10 for $3 on ship. It was crazy. And a carton of cigarettes on ship was $5. I mean, but what happened, I didn't realize that the ship didn't have it until we had gotten to
in the middle of the ocean.
And you couldn't find it anyplace else in the world at the time. And I think we were the only crazies that were doing that stuff, especially in Asia where I was. You couldn't find it in the Philippines or Japan or Korea or Hong Kong.
The thing is, when we were growing up, though, it was a thing. Chicken gums.
I figured another episode we'll talk about the time I know all my people hung with, how we kind of indoctrinated into. It was first Red Man, the old belief.
I did not participate in that.
That's another story. But it's funny too when you go to sometimes other countries and you ask for a snuff, and they pull out this thing that shoots it up your nose. You're like, what?
But my great grandmother used that, and it's Mike what my grandmother used.
Yeah, that was just baffling. I was about right around that. Probably the next year, we were probably 9th grade. And I was over at your house, and yeah. as a the red man sitting there, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I wonder whose that is, because I knew Chuck Copenhagen, and all of a sudden, Grandma grabbed it, and I'm like,
here was the funny part, Mike. We were in the kitchen, and my grandmother was visiting from Georgia, and Mike says, "When did you start chewing Red Man?" I'm looking at him going, "What are you talking about?" Right there. And I was about to tell him, and my grandmother walked in and says, "I forgot my Red Man." Picked it up.
That's
Not
awesome.
something you would see in Minnesota ever.
Except for now, it's big with the pouches, the nicotine pouches.
Yeah, what do they call those? I can't remember what they're called, but they're huge. I don't know. I get it. I was addicted to nicotine for decades, but is it the same kind of high is the wrong word, but is it the same that you get as nicotine, or is it like you might as well just vape if you don't want to smoke? I don't know.
I went through from cigarettes, quit that to go to vapes, went from vapes to now Velos, which is, I just can't get away from some type of nicotine.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I was just thinking when you brought up your grandma, because we get complained that some people say, oh, yeah, we're the Prozac nation, this and that. People got to have all this stuff. Back in the day, they used to have cocaine and Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? They used to get morphine from the doctor, and they're like, here's my little special feel-better juice.
They didn't
for
die.
Exactly. So they had stuff to get them through the day, too. That's all I'm saying. It's not just, did you watch Mad Men? These guys would have a cocktail by 11. They built America.
I lived.
I
what are you talking
about? Funny thing, just real quick, there was a thing on PBS last night, because I don't know, it was called when they shuttled the shuttle or whatever, about the space program, the Discovery Challenger, and when they had the space station, and a lot of they said basically that ended the Cold War, Americans and Russians working together and figuring it out. And it was funny, one guy's going, yeah, we'd be sitting up there and we'd have lunch, and we'd eat our lunch, and the Russians always had 2 beers with lunch. And we're like, you can't drink up here. And he goes, if we don't have our beers, how are we going to work the rest of the afternoon? And it was just like, that's the way it was. Nobody, I mean, another time we could talk about the Hams Brewery. And it's funny. I know we talked a little bit, but not on here, about they would go to work early to sit at the bar and have beer before work. And if you didn't drink their beer, they're like, it's not good enough for you.
In the 40s, 30s, it was very common. French children could drink wine. They were limited to half bottle a day, but they could drink wine at school. That's just what you did. So it's, once again, whatever gets you through the day is what I say.
Yeah, I think the Beatles said whatever gets you through the night.
Yeah. I was just thinking about my first day of school here. It was the most bizarre day ever, but it ended up being a great day.
Yeah.
I remember went to, I think, what was her name? Miss Paul, her math class. Does that sound right? Was that the math
bell, but
I don't remember.
A lot of hazy days since then for me.
I know there was a Miss Paul, and I don't know if it was math or whatever. I went to class. But
I'm thinking it was math. Maybe it was.
This was at what was called back then Westwood Junior High.
All right. And I remember in that class, it was like my first or second class, I got in a fight with good old Jerry Palmashine, great guy. And it was weird. And then finally it got broke up, and we were sent down to the principal's office, and they put me on one bench, Jerry on another one. And he's like, what are you doing after school? And I thought, okay, we're going to go finish this. All right. And I said, why, you want to finish this? He goes, no, you want to come over? And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's Minnesota nice.
And I did. I ended up going to his house, and then he took me over to meet another guy who was throwing football with his 2 younger brothers out in the street, and that was Andy Townsend.
Oh, wow,
and,
look at that.
And so and then he went to another junior high. He went to Central, and so it was a very good first day. I got to meet 2 of my best buddies in the first day, and which in turn introduced me to a bunch of other people. And I
are you saying that your world got bigger?
We had to pay you to hang out with us.
Changed?
Yeah, it was good. It was interesting. You go from fighting the first day to finding some of your best friends in the same day. It was bizarre. But
it's funny. I remember, I don't ever remember you in high school, whatever, talking about I miss California. It's just kind of it seemed like after a couple months, it's like, oh, you've been here. It seemed like you've been here forever. Don't bring up California. But you never did. You never brought up, God, I miss California. And obviously, when you got here in the summer, you still hadn't experienced the winter.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're like,
snow was new to me. And sledding and ice skating and all this other stuff.
Skitching and snowball fights.
Skitch. I was going to say skitch. Is that something? I'm assuming that you'd never heard of skitching in California.
Never. No.
But you guys could race your cars in the washes like they did in Greece.
And we can go to the beach a lot. That was nice.
That was nice. Yeah.
You probably, when you were younger, you probably never put empty bread loaf bags over your feet into your snow boots so your socks wouldn't get wet.
No, I can't say I've ever done that.
Because by the time you got here, we weren't sledding that much. And if we did go sledding, it was more of a...
We just bought boots that didn't leak.
Way back when, I remember when I was young.
It was a thing.
When snow boots came out, when those snow boots came out with that, whatever, that nylon vinyl siding and the rubber boots.
Yeah.
That was...
then it couldn't soak in. But that was a skiing thing. That wasn't. We didn't get that when we'd go to Sears Roebuck to get our sneakers.
Monkey Ward, Sears Roebuck, yeah.
Yeah, and the clothes was different. I remember everybody. I had to go buy all new clothes because everybody, we were still wearing bell bottoms out in California.
We were wearing flannel,
and everybody
flannel and corduroys,
Mm-hmm.
and had these really tight leg jeans. And I looked at it and said, "Man, they're all wearing girls' clothes."
Girls' clothes. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I mean. It's something you would never know unless you came from there. But, a guy wouldn't be caught in tight leg blues.
We did have blue bell bottoms, but I think it died out here faster. It died. I got a sister 2 years old.
Yeah,
But
and the 70s. I was in the 70s. Yeah, that's true. I mean, have you ever gone back and looked at some of your pictures from first grade or kindergarten? It's like, damn, son. I think it died. My parents dressed me for the first... I don't think I owned a pair of jeans until 5th grade. I used to wear these checkered pants.
Oh, yeah.
I looked like Mr. Disco.
That's what happens when you have a foreign mother, I know.
Exactly, yes. I've talked about it before, I think, on my Facebook page, but there's this thing. It's a bottle it's called agua de violeta, which means violet water.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. My mom used to douse me in that crap. I apologize to anybody that ever sat next to me or near me because I smelled like a French whorehouse going to elementary school.
I would
honestly
say
doused in that shit.
They say smells are one of your biggest memory receptors. I don't remember you stinking.
Okay.
No.
That's because
I think bell bottoms
downwind of you.
Yeah.
By the time I met you, you smelled like a cigarette.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's taking care of that.
I think up here, I think bell bottoms died out because I think a lot of our wardrobe was based on the weather. It was just you did things that accommodated winter because it seemed like it was winter a lot or cold and being cold sucks.
It was cold. I'll give you that.
The reality is, I don't think I thought about fashion at all until maybe 6th grade. For me, and this is my experience unique, until I discovered there was an opposite sex, I cared nothing about whatever clothes my parents threw at me.
Yeah, they're real good about
then it was like whatever cues I take socially from my social group, media, or this or that as to what's appropriate or what's not embarrassing. But
I remember the first thing that triggered me, and I think other people, because was tennis shoes. And I remember when the Nike tennis shoe came out in 5th grade.
Oh yeah.
Nike with the red swoop.
Yep.
And my mom got really mad at me because I got in trouble with Mr. Siegel, and I had to spend 3 days.
That's the principal at Cedar Manor Elementary School.
Yeah, 2 days. I think it was 2 days. I had to spend, and it was like a smaller the nurse room that wasn't being used much, and I had to spend 2 days in there. It was like I was in the hole, and they'd bring me lunch, and they brought me my homework.
So and I was not happy with you.
No, not because of that. I don't know. It was what it was, but I colored my white Nikes with my ink pen blue, and then I took off the red swoop. So I had blue Nikes with a white swoop, and that's what she didn't like.
I remember 6th grade. I wanted Nike so bad, and my dad's like, "Those are $25. Do you think your father is a rich man?" I guarantee you, those are words that came out of his mouth. There are other words I can't share on the podcast, but those are words that came out of his mouth that I can share.
Put your bumper shoes back on and be happy.
No.
Yeah, Cedar Manor. My experience at Cedar Manor is a little different. That would be a place that I would, after keg parties at Hammer's house, and sick of talking to people, would crawl across that fence and lay on the lawn for a while.
No, you know what? That's Elliot. That's Elliot. Elliot. It was the school that Hammer and I went to from kindergarten through 5th grade. And then Cedar Manor is when they closed that. We had down right by 169 in Cedar Lake Road.
Up on Cedar Lake Road, right?
Yep. Okay. And so that's where we had to go with our arch rivals, John Frank and Todd Bugan and all of those horrible people that we played in sports. And we were like a fish out of water. They were our arch rivals.
Oh, that had to be weird.
We didn't want to be there.
We didn't.
And I didn't.
Now, what year did that happen?
Sixth grade. It would have been our year to rule the school.
Yeah, we would have been 6th grade because it was elementary school back then in St. Louis Park, kindergarten to 6th grade. Junior high was 7th, 8th, and 9th, and then the high school was 10th, 11th, 12th.
You guys got ripped off. You never got to rule the school, did you? Because
until 1984, until we were seniors in high school, we didn't get our elementary school rule the school or our junior high rule the school.
No, because 9th grade went to high school. Which was great. I loved that.
That actually was good. I think that's about right. I look at some of those middle schools, and I don't have any kids, so I've not experienced it, but just anecdotally, some of those middle schools, you got a big difference between little kids and the bigger kids.
What I was doing in 9th grade should not be done at a junior high school.
And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Chuck, we probably could go on for hours, but we want to keep this down to a car ride, and we're getting to maybe a little.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking? Maybe one other time when you dad started the fun shop, a little bit getting into that, and how many friends you knew that worked there, how many people you employed in your sphere, because it was considered a fun job at the fun shop because it wasn't. I don't know, pump gas. Even though pump gas was fun when we.
But you weren't. I worked in a kitchen in high school, right? You don't want to get greasy. Working in the mall, you get to talk to girls during the day. Can't beat that.
We'll talk about that one day.
We'll talk. We'll talk about kind of the growth of the fun shop and its peak era and your store at the Mall of America. So we'll have you back, Chuck.
Sounds great, guys. Good seeing you.
Thanks for joining us on the bench. Right now, it's Carlos and Hammer.
Watching the world spinning slow. Another day, strange afterglow. From the comfort of this wooden seat, a symphony for tired feet.